Hey guys, welcome to this week's vlog, and today we're going to be talking about forgiveness. So this week on the podcast we did a forgiveness meditation, and it's one that really resonated with me, and it's one that I felt like was really powerful because forgiveness is something that is really hard, and it's just really hard, and I know that. And so I wanted to create this meditation because I know that forgiving people and forgiving yourself is something that can be really, really tough. So I created this meditation, and if you haven't listened to it yet, I'll put a link to it down below. But basically what it is you start with this image of this concrete block on your chest, this really big heavy thing on your chest. And then as you work through your forgiveness, then you start to kind of break apart that concrete block, and you start to chip it away, and it becomes a little bit lighter. And the reason that I picked that imagery is because when we don't forgive, it is my belief that we're only causing harm to ourselves. So this is something that a teacher of mine kind of introduced me to, and the reason he did is because I have had my own struggles with forgiving people and also forgiving myself, and I've had some people that have done some really awful and nasty things to me, just like everyone has. It's not that mine are any worse than anyone else's, but I know that at times people think that because I am young, I must not quite know real pain or quite know what it's like to have someone do something really awful to you. And I do. And I say unfortunately I do, but also fortunately I do, because unfortunately that happened to me, and I've had people that have just been really awful and nasty and been in situations that have just been really hard, but then also fortunately it's taught me a lot about life, and it has really shaped my views on the world and helped me see what kind of a human being I would like to be, and it's helped me to really change my outlook on life, and it kind of led me to where I am today. So that's kind of why I say fortunately and unfortunately. But anyway, so one of my teachers, Bhante Villamaranzi, I'll also link to his stuff. He is this monk that I stayed with for a while, and he taught me a lot about meditation, and he does loving kindness meditation, but he also does forgiveness meditation. And the way that he was describing it to me is that when we don't forgive, we're only harming ourselves. So that person, maybe they did something awful to us, like let's say someone says something really harmful, or they just say something mean, and you think about it, right? And you carry it around, you lug it around, and you think, why would they say that? Do they really mean that? Do other people think that about me? Should I think that about myself? And you're just like lugging this heavy thing around. They're probably not thinking about it. And so you've taken on that burden onto yourself when it was their actions. So you're taking on their bad actions and their harmful words as your own, and you're the one carrying it around, not them. And so the way that he described it to me was that by not forgiving, you're taking on the burden of their bad actions and their cruelty and their unkindness, and you're lugging that around, and you're only hurting yourself, because no one needs to lug around this big concrete block. No one needs to lug around these things. I have enough in my life that I need to lug around. I don't need to lug around their, harm too. And so he introduced me to the idea of this forgiveness meditation. It's different than what we did on the podcast. It's a little bit different, and if you're interested, check out the links below to his stuff. But he really helped me to realize that I was only harming myself by holding on to these things. And my unwillingness to forgive said more about me than it did them. And if I could finally work on forgiving, that I could be free and I could be alleviated from all this pain that I was causing myself. And that was something that has just totally transformed my life. And so it's something that I wanted to share with you guys. And then also you'll notice in the meditation that I talk about self-forgiveness. And so for me, self-forgiveness is about accepting and recognizing humanness. So we are all humans, and humans are flawed. And it seems like we hold ourselves to this much higher standard. So I think about, and I say this all the time, I think about, if I spoke to my dearest friends or my family the way that I spoke to myself, I wouldn't have any left, because they'd be like, you are so mean. Don't say those things to me. And it's just about being human. Like, I hold myself to this other standard, this higher standard than I would my dearest friends, because I can look at them, or I can look at my partner or my family, and I can see their humanness and accept that they are flawed and that they aren't perfect and that that's okay. And so it's easier for me to forgive those small things. But then when I do them myself, I just hold on to them and I grasp onto them and I don't forgive. And so another exercise that I did with this teacher, Bonti, was that we worked on self-forgiveness. And so again, kind of accepting the humanness and the imperfection in all of us. So that was something that I felt like was really powerful, and it really transformed the way that I saw things. So I included that in the meditation as well, forgiving others and then also forgiving yourself. Sometimes it can be really hard to forgive yourself. And so for me, forgiveness really, really boils down to, and maybe this sounds a little bit selfish, but why burden yourself more than you need to? Why burden yourself with all of these things, all of these actions that other people have done, or mistakes that you have made, when you don't need to? You have enough in life that you can carry around. You don't need to carry around all of those things too. And so to me, forgiveness is freedom, and it's how you alleviate the body and make yourself lighter and more joyful, and you can make room in your heart for other things, that you're not just holding on to these grudges and these mean things that people have done. And I think also being able to kind of identify the difference between someone's actions and perhaps what that says about them. So there's an author that I like, Deborah Dell. I mentioned her in the last vlog, and she says we treat others the way that we treat ourselves. And so for me, it's a lot easier to forgive people if I can have compassion for the fact that people who are hurting hurt. And so if they're causing that harm to me and they're saying or doing or thinking those things about me, imagine what they must be thinking about themselves. And then going back to kind of the self-forgiveness, recognizing that the way we treat ourselves is the way that we treat others. And so what kind of an impact are we having on the world if we aren't allowing ourselves to be human and to make mistakes and to be imperfect? And, how does that impact others? How does that impact how we interact with people? What kind of residue are we leaving in the world? And so to me, I think that working on forgiving yourself and others is probably one of the most powerful things and one of the most challenging things you can do. But it really is very powerful. And so I hope that you enjoyed this week's meditation, and I hope that you're enjoying these just short little posts. I know a lot of you kind of asked to see a little bit more of me and not just hear my voice. And I appreciate your kind words, because it definitely is something, this whole exercise, this vlogging is definitely an exercise in vulnerability for me, especially as someone that has a tendency to be a little bit more closed off or just a little bit more internal, because I'm so used to stepping into that teacher role, and I'm used to my students really opening up, that it's definitely been a vulnerability exercise for them, me to open up and share my thoughts in such an organic way. And the way that I do these is I don't write down any notes. I just know the topic, and then I hit record and I sit down, and I don't edit. I don't do multiple takes. I just, whatever comes out, and then I upload it and I send it out into the universe. So that is equal parts liberating and terrifying. So I've appreciated your thoughts, and if you are wondering about a specific topic or have requests, you can always send them to me. And if you have thoughts on forgiveness, I would love to hear them. I think that it's important to always be the student, so if you have something you want to share with me, I would love to learn about it. So otherwise, I hope that you enjoyed the meditation and you found these thoughts to be, I hope that you thought these thoughts were thought-provoking, I guess is what I'm thinking. You don't have to agree with them. But I hope that they made you think. And so I will see you guys next week.